Hello relatives, Han Madakiyapi. Good morning. My name is Chelsey. I'm a writer, a journalist, and a wellness advocate. I'm Anishinaabe from the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, and I'm Lakota from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I'm proud to be here today to offer an Indigenous perspective to this celebration of women. I'm nervous this morning, but not as nervous as I was last year at this time, because last year, this event fell on my due date. With my belly out to here, I marched alongside my mom, who flew in from North Dakota, and my midwife, Shell, who runs an incredible place not far from here called the Phoenix Birth Center, which you should all support. Shell and her colleagues and Indigenous women all over the world are working to reclaim a sacred ceremony we know as birth. And I urge all of you to get involved in that movement, because the health of our mothers and our babies impacts everyone. It all starts with our sacred little ones. I ended up delivering at Phoenix Indian Medical Center, a federally funded facility where the staff has continued to show up for work without pay throughout this government shutdown. There is an entire hospital in Phoenix right now being run by unpaid employees. Wrap your head around that. So anyway, I was nervous last year. I thought I might go into labor any minute, but in fact, it would be another 2 weeks until my baby would arrive. And what I didn't know then is that the baby inside me happened to be a powerful little girl, and she's here today. And so I'd like to thank my daughter, Alo Akawe, who I am still breastfeeding, for allowing me to spend a few minutes with you. I grew up in North Dakota, but I've lived in Arizona for a few years with my partner, Thosh, who is from the Salt River community, and I'm happy to say that I'm here for good. We are raising our daughter on her ancestral homelands. And so I want to acknowledge our O'odham relatives and the other tribal nations in the area who paved the way for the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona to be here. And in that spirit, I ask that anywhere you go, you always acknowledge the Indigenous territory that you are on, because Native nations have sacrificed so much for America. Please recognize that we cannot move forward collectively as women until greater efforts are made to heal America's relationship with the original people of this land. I'm so grateful for the sacrifices of my ancestors, and I'm so grateful to continue our chain of existence. I love being a mom, and because of my daughter, I'm reminded of my own power. I'm so impressed by her persistence, her determination. She never settles for less than what she knows she deserves. And so I want to remind everyone here that we are born with the bravery and resilience of countless generations of women who came before us. One of the highlights of my career was when I broke the story about the Dakota Access Pipeline conflict on the Standing Rock Reservation. As a young journalist with little notoriety, I was very proud to bring attention to that issue before anyone really knew about it or cared. And I watched in awe as it became a point of global interest. And so I encourage all of you to fight for your cause when no one is watching, when it's gritty, and when it's dark, because the dark is where you make a difference. My grandma Thelma came from a small town on Standing Rock called Wakpala. She grew up in unimaginable poverty, but eventually she became a very successful entrepreneur. She was the first Native woman in North Dakota to receive a business loan, and from there she shattered glass ceilings. And by the time she died, people from everywhere flocked to her funeral to pay respects. And what they remembered about her is not the money that she made, but the way that she treated people, always with kindness, respect, and compassion. She used her influence for good. And so for those of you who are bosses and leaders like her, and I know that many of you are, I urge you to put your power toward progress, create better workplaces for women and families, support mothers who are breastfeeding, assist your employees with immigration paperwork. In every way that you can, recognize the humanity of your employees and your colleagues, and treat people with respect. People often joke that if anybody should have a right to be skeptical of immigration, it's Native Americans, but I am so proud to say that there is no truth to that. Because despite our history, despite what we have been through, our cultural value of relentless compassion prevails. And we all hear stories every day of the hardships and abuses that our migrant relatives endure, and I think of my own loved ones. My grandma Jean from France, my sister from Ecuador, my brother from the Philippines, my best friend from Brazil. And it is with them in mind that I ask you to stand in solidarity with those who come here seeking opportunity. Because the truth is that this land belongs to no one, and these invisible borders don't mean a thing. My grandma Dorothy from the Turtle Mountain Reservation is a boarding school survivor, and as are many Native people in her generation. And if you don't know about the boarding school era in the United States, look it up. It is a dark part of American history that too few people understand. She told me that she will never forget being taken from her parents, packed onto a bus with dozens of other Chippewa children who could not stop wailing and crying from terror and confusion. She told me about trying to run away, then being captured, returned to the school where her classmates were forced to beat her, and if they didn't hit hard enough, they would face the same punishment. And so it is with her in mind that I think about the children who are being ripped away from their parents at the border. And I think about the fact that a child is taken out of their home every 40 seconds in Arizona, often without due process for the families. And I think about the high rates of Native children being placed in foster homes around the country. Arizona, America, we need to do better. And allies to Indigenous communities, we love you, we need you, but please listen. The time is now to stop asking, how can I help Native people? And to start asking instead, what can I learn from Indigenous people? What can they teach me? Because it is impossible to support a group of people until you truly respect them first. And my Native sisters and brothers out there, we have to keep going. The world desperately needs our knowledge. I work for an organization called the Native Wellness Institute, and I help run an initiative called Well for Culture, which are two living examples of the wonderful healing work that can be done when Indigenous knowledge is given the freedom to operate. And by the way, Indigenous wellness does not mean buying sage kits at Urban Outfitters or referring to your spin class as your tribe. And if you have participated in this sort of cultural appropriation, I urge you to reconsider. Because there is a respectful way to engage with real Indigenous wellness. And what that means is living in balance, using movement as medicine, eating real food from the earth, recognizing and fighting against systemic health disparities, and staying substance-free, and finally not taking the health of your body and mind for granted. And all people can benefit from this Indigenous wellness worldview. I'll just finish by saying that until you heal yourself, you cannot heal others. And your activism will only go so far if your mind and your body are hurting, so self-care. I urge you to recognize that impact starts with you. You have the power to influence others, to speak up for those who are being silenced, and to raise your children to respect themselves, one another, and our mother, the earth, because without her, we have nothing. Thank you. We'll be with you.